Welcome everyone, you're listening to Unity FM 93.5, the heart of the city. Now, the cost of living is having a huge strain on everyone out there. You might not be surprised, but as a result, homelessness is on the rise. But what you may be surprised about is about a quarter of those registered as homeless are from the UK's care system, and generally young people. The West Midlands has one of the highest proportions of care leavers in the UK, and my guest opposite me today, their aim is to improve life chances for those young people through, I guess, what's termed financial literacy or education. We'll find out a little bit about that. With me in the studio is Sally McLaughlin. Have I pronounced that correctly, Sally?
Yes.
Sally McLaughlin, who is the Regional Partnership Manager for the Midlands My BNK, but it's called My Bank, everyone. It's My Bank. Sally, welcome, firstly. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Straight into it, if that's okay. My Bank, what exactly do you do?
So My Bank is a financial education charity. We've been running since 2007 across the country with hubs in London, the Northwest and the South. And we also have a presence in Scotland. And at the moment, we are expanding into the Midlands with our financial education and money management courses.
So how long have you guys been? So where did you start off? I'm assuming it was in the big smoke in London first, or was it in Glasgow and then?
So we started in London and we opened our first money house 10 years ago in Greenwich, and we now have 4 of those. And the success was so evident and the need was so high that My Bank has just grown and grown and grown over those years and is always looking for areas to expand in, because the pressure on young people is more evident than ever. And the range of young people that we support is actually from age 5 to 25. So we have a range of programmes right through all the key stages up to young adults, all specifically designed for that particular age group and the challenges that they'll be experiencing at that time.
What do you mean by a money house? It sounds like a wonderful place where you just go in and grab a few notes and walk back out, but I'm assuming it doesn't do that. Can you explain a little bit about that?
So in the Midlands, we are relatively new. We opened our office here in September, and I've been in post for just under a year. And we are expanding the 2 young adult programmes that My Bank run into the Midlands. And one of those, as you mentioned, is the Money House. Now, the Money House is our young adults programme aimed at young people aged 16 to 25. And on the Money House, they learn everything that they need to know about being financially independent, making confident money decisions, and setting themselves up for to have a positive relationship with money and make decisions with that money that will benefit them in a positive way. So our Money House is a physical place where young people come to us, and we are in Digbeth. So we're just opposite the custard factory, just off the Ulster Street. And we have a very welcoming, homely, safe environment that we have essentially kitted out as a house. So we've renovated this space. We've got beanbags and sofas and a very comfortable, physically comfortable space, but also welcoming. So we try and make it so young people come to us and it feels like they are in a home. And that itself forms part of the work that we do. So they learn real life skills through this simulated living environment. So we'll have meters that we'll read, and we can think about how much that might cost in terms of energy, but also, we will do things to help young people prepare for independent living. So we'll walk around the flat and do an inventory, and we'll do an inventory of the rooms that they're in, and the kitchen and the breakout rooms that we've got, and the toilets, and they'll go through and they'll kind of look at all the things that are in the room, and then imagine that, our trainer is the landlord, and they'll go, well, you missed this and this. And it's a bit of an exercise about, how to successfully manage your tenancies. So it's essentially a homelessness prevention programme, in that we do equip young people with the information they need to manage their tenancies successfully. But it's so much more than that. We'll talk about banking. And we'll take that back to the basics for the young people. We work with a really wide range of young people, and lots of them might be the care experienced or particularly vulnerable or at risk of homelessness or have been homeless. So we're talking about things that many of us might take for granted, that we know how to open a bank account, how banks work. But, the reality is that a lot of young people just don't know the basics of this, or at the moment don't have the money for it to be relevant. But we try and get them to that position where they will have money to put into their bank. So we'll talk to them about that. We'll talk to them about debt and priority debts, so the sorts of things that you must pay when they come in, and if you don't, then you'll be evicted. We'll talk to them about good debt, because not all debt is bad. You can help build up your credit score, and that's a big thing that we work through with young people at the moment, doing that in a safe way. We'll also talk about your bills, your utility bills. And, it's quite surprising how a lot of young people who might live with parents, perhaps if you're 16 or 17 and you don't have to think about bills, and that's fine. But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about how your gas and electric and water bills work. And, as we can all attest that, the tsunami of the cost of living crisis has affected everybody, but is disproportionately affecting young people. So all of that is part of it. And then we'll talk about the world of employment, how to make money, how can young people make money. That's a really nice discussion, because yes, we'll talk about, full-time, part-time, 0 hours contracts and all of that sort of stuff. But there are other ways to make money, and we talk about all of that. Part of that conversation is also about, different ways to make money. And we show this great video, for example, about money muling, which is something that young people often fall prey to, and it's a very attractive proposition to be offered some money for something that seems very simple, but actually the ramifications of that are huge.
That sounds a bit sinister. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about moving let's say drugs from one part of the city to another part of the city? Are we that sort of thing, or are we talking less criminal?
It's still a criminal activity. So it's when a young person is preyed upon by criminals to allow them to put some money in the young person's bank account.
Okay.
Let's say it's £5,000, and then we'll take it out the next day, and you get £400 for doing it. Very, very attractive proposition. Seems very simple, and there is very little involved. However, when the police get involved, and if these young people ever get caught, they are the ones that bear the responsibility, and they're the ones that are subject to the criminal proceedings. And we actually had a young person.
Why would somebody put £5,000 in a young person's account and then decide to remove it? I mean, what are we talking about here?
It's essentially money laundering,
right?
And we had a young lady on one of our courses who this had happened to her, and she was very young and still at school, and she had no idea, and she got in trouble with the police.
Right. And
from the age of, I think she was about 14, for the next 8 years, she was unable to have a bank account, a card. She could have no direct debits. She had to pay with everything up front, everything cash. There was no kind of overdraft. And she was only just coming out of the end of that.
Because of this money laundering, in inverted commas, activities that she'd participated in.
Exactly.
Wow.
And there was no criminal proceedings taken against the people that had given her that money. She bore the full responsibility. And the bank just did that without an investigation, and it just happened overnight, and all her bank accounts were frozen. So these are things that are happening a lot to a lot of young people, and it's the sort of stuff that we talk about a lot, and hope that we give that young person the information to if they're presented in that situation, that they can weigh up those options for themselves, knowing the risks. Because it's very important to us that we're not advice giving, we're not telling young people how to live their lives. So you don't give advice. It's more. So how does your guidance, let's just say, then manifest? Yeah. If you're not giving advice, then how does it sort of work? If I'm a young person, and let's just say I'm in need of some advice, it might not necessarily be financial advice. How does that work? So our training team go through a really rigorous training program, and we recruit them specifically to be good at working with young people and perhaps those with vulnerabilities. And they come charged with all of the knowledge and information to give to the young people about money management and financial capability. But like I say, we don't give advice. Now, what we do is a huge amount of signposting. So if a young person talks to us about something that they need help with...
So referrals and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is a really integral part of what we do. It's really important that we're kind of fitted in with the wider Birmingham community, working with young people. So we can signpost that young person for debt advice, or, if it's something else, then that's a really big part of what we do. But we're very proud of the fact that we give young people the information that they can then go and make their decisions themselves. So they feel informed. So they've kind of got this arsenal of skills and knowledge that they can go away and take with them, hopefully, for the rest of their lives.
And this service, so your charity, it's not just, am I right in assuming it's just for people who are on the verge of homelessness, or people who are in the care system, or is it open to absolutely, is it really broad, open to absolutely everybody?
The criteria for coming on a money house is your age. So if you're between 16 and 25, you are eligible to come on.
Irrespective of your background and financial kind of standing or anything like that?
Yep, irrespective of any of that. And we are very happy to welcome any and all young people from across the city to sign up to a money house. So like I say, if you are between 16 and 25, you can self-refer, so you can contact us directly, and we will allocate you onto a course. Or if you have a family member who you want to do that for you, that's absolutely fine. If you are a young person with a support worker or a work coach, perhaps, at the job centre, then they can refer you as well. But yeah, we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for young people to come on the course. And if you're in the age range, then you're very welcome.
How long do these courses last? What are we looking at? A day, couple of weeks? 3 weeks?
So the courses run, we have either a course that runs for 3 days or a course that runs for 5 days. And I guess the greater the need, the longer the course. So if you're perhaps on the verge of moving into independent living, or you are planning on getting your own place, or semi-independent living, then we would definitely recommend you come on a 5-day course. And the courses run Monday to Friday, and we are, as I said, in Digbeth, just opposite the custard factory. And the course times run the course starts at 10:30 till 3:30. And we, very importantly, can cover your travel. So we don't want a young person to be out of...
I was just about to say, if I'm a young person and I'm on the verge of homelessness, or, I haven't got the financial means to even catch a bus, Uber, whatever, falling out with friends or whatever, how does one get to but, you cover the costs?
But it's a very important question to ask, because... we do have young people who are living on, £5 a week. So if your travel costs you £3 to get here, well, you're just not going to come, and that's absolutely understandable. So you come to us in the morning and you get given cash for your travel. So you let us know how much it is, and you get covered that every day. And then you'll get it for your journey home as well. So your travel is covered. The course starts at 10:30, but from 9:30, our kitchen is open. Young people are very welcome to come and have breakfast, and they can help themselves. And we've got tea, coffee, toast, cereal, and all we ask is that you wash up after yourself, and that's absolutely fine.
That's a small ask. That's all right. That's not too bad. So you mentioned that you guys sort of cross-pollinate with other organisations as well. So are we talking... organisations like the CAB, can you give us some examples?
It's vital to our success that we work with other organisations across the city. We cannot do this on our own. So yes, young people can self-refer, but our work with the likes of St Basil's, who are a youth organisation who are huge across the county, is massive. We work with the Prince's Trust, of course. We're doing some work with MenCap, and we've worked with Autism West Midlands. And then teams at the council, so the Care Leavers Service, the Preparation for Adulthood team, all of these incredible people that are working with young adults who can refer them into us and who we can join forces with to widen our reach. We do know that there's a huge gap in the city for financial education, and we aim to fill that gap essentially without all of those organisations having to, recruit new teams and create new things, and that we can work with them to enhance their offering. My bank recently published some research, and we're very proud of the fact that we do publish research, and it was around care leavers, and this was a national piece of research that we did, but we had lots of responses in the West Midlands, so we were able to kind of paint a really nice picture of essentially the financial education and the financial confidence of care leavers in the city. So in the West Mids, over 2/3 of care leavers reported that they were either sometimes or always worried about managing their money. I mean, that is, the majority of them are worried about managing their money.
What's that as a figure? How many are we looking at? A couple of 100,000, 300?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So it's really significant.
Huge.
Huge. And most of the care leavers said that they needed help with managing their money and that they weren't quite sure about where to find it. So, and that's fair enough, because if you're a care leaver, your support worker can't know everything. They can't themselves know every single thing that you need to know. And we understand that. So it's like, well, that's brilliant. So what you need to do, refer them onto a money house, and then that is everything that they need to know. When they turn 18, they move into independent living, and hopefully that's really successful. And we know that it works because we've got 4 money houses in London. We've got one in Glasgow, and we're about to open one in the northwest, in the Manchester area. So very exciting. And we've done a lot of evaluation and monitoring of our money houses in London. So the typical eviction rate for care leavers within the first 2 years of leaving care is about 1/3. So about 1/3 of them lose their tenancies, get evicted, and are homeless. But of all money house graduates from our London ones, only 2% have ever been evicted. So
2%. So from 1/3, 33% to 2%.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yes. And I think that is the reason why this is going to be so important here in Birmingham. But it's also very important to note that in London we almost exclusively work with care leavers, but that is not the case in Birmingham. Yes, we do work with that vulnerable population. However, if you fall in the age range, you are very welcome. And no matter your circumstances or your background, you will get something out of this course. There's an accreditation. So if you do the 5-day course, you complete this workbook, and that is just getting you thinking about different activities. You get an accreditation. And I think for some young people, that's a really big thing and something we're really happy to be able to offer. But if you don't get the accreditation, you'll get your certificate of attendance, which everybody gets. And of course, all the knowledge to take away with you. And young people are very welcome to keep in touch with us. We're always there. So when you come to us for the 5 days, it's not like that's it and we'll never speak to you again. We're often doing events and looking for young people to be involved. We've had young people involved in everything, including coming up with our name, helping devise our programmes. And, we've had young people helping us on their volunteering time, painting our flat. We had a young person do this incredible mural that if you come, you will see it inside. Young people are at the heart of everything that we do, and the people that have been through the programme, have been through the Money House, we want them to keep in touch with us.
So I guess it's about empowering the second you walk through the door. So you if you want to change the environment the way you would kind of, or at least helping you to help them to kind of, I guess, ultimately help themselves through life, whether it's giving a wall a lick of paint, or whether it's kind of, learning how to keep up with good debt, bad debt, and that sort of thing. But I mean, it sounds like a great idea, and it just sounds pretty obvious that there should have been a service like this. There obviously wasn't, which is how you guys came about. But how did you come about? I mean, did somebody, the chief or the CEO kind of wake up one morning and think, this is the problem here with young people, the just lack of financial literacy? How did the whole My Bank historically, come into being, as it were?
So we've been going since 2007, and our founder is a woman called Lily Laperna, and she just saw that there was just this lack across the board of anything kind of tangible for young people to learn about finances. It's not taught in school as a standard, and we do have school programs that we run across the country. We will be running those later this year in the Midlands, our Key Stage 5 programme, so for 16, 17-year-olds. And that's basically where it came out of, just a woman with a kind of passion for doing something and making a difference. And here we are, from 2007 to today, covering, the majority of the country and Scotland, and expanding and growing all the time. But ultimately, whilst we do have school-age programmes, we would love to see a time where this is taught in school, that it is a part of the standard curriculum, and essentially doing ourselves out of a job. But that would be great, because then young people are kind of getting that information.
Why do you think it isn't taught at schools? I know it's a little bit controversial, I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but why do you think financial literacy isn't in Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, at least 3 and 4?
I don't know, to be honest, because it seems to make perfect sense and everybody questions why it's not. I think it's perhaps just something that isn't yet seen as important as it should be. Perhaps it's not seen as important as we see that it is. But we do campaign, and we are quite vocal about that, and we do kind of try and influence policy and be involved as much as we can and show our findings and show that it really works. And our school age programs are not like a 5-day program. You'll go in and we'll do 100-minute sessions, and in those 100 minutes, those young people learn so much. So we're not talking about something that has to be done every single day. It's just tailoring it to those the right ages. And a 7-year-old is going to see things very differently to an 11-year-old. But just making it fun as well. And I think that's really important to mention, that lots of people may switch off at the thought of finances and money and think that it's just either not interesting or too confusing. But through activities and interacting and making it real life and using real life scenarios, actually, we do make it a bit of fun and we do have a laugh. And I think that really helps when people are learning something.
You mentioned at the top of the interview, and you said that you work with people. The courses are aimed at people who are 16 on onwards, but you mentioned 5-year-olds as well. So does that mean that you guys kind of go out to schools, or do 5-year-olds physically walk into the house, as it were? How does that work?
So we have two teams of trainers. We have our Money House team, who work in our flat round the corner, and we have our regional education officers who go and deliver our school age programs, and they are essentially mobile, and they will go across the county to wherever we have schools that we're working with, and it's delivered in school. So during the timetabled curriculum, and they will go in and deliver a couple of sessions a day.
What's the uptake been like? Have you found that schools have been like, yeah, but I've absolutely coming through, or have they kind of looked at you and thought, these small human beings don't need to know anything about money, not at this age? What's the reception been like?
Yeah, schools are very, very open and enthusiastic about our offering, and I think for 2 reasons. The first one is that it's obviously brilliant, and the young people get a lot out of it. But secondly, we are able to offer all of our courses fully funded. So with thanks to all of our various funders and people that support us, there's no cost to a school if we go into a primary school or a middle school. We can offer it without them having to put up any money, which is huge because we know that school budgets are stretched. So to be able to do that is something that we're really proud of. And it's the same with the Money House. The money that we will never ever charge young people to come on a course, and quite the opposite. As I mentioned earlier, They will get their travel reimbursed. There's breakfast. There's a hot lunch every day. And we have a kind of comfort box in the toilets as well, where we have free period products and, deodorant and toothpaste and toothbrushes that young people can take, so they just feel comfortable in themselves. And that's because we are fully funded, and we have a range of funders, but our main one in Birmingham in the Midlands is the Berkeley Foundation. Mm-hmm. So the housing developer, property developer, who have really supported us both financially but also with volunteers coming in and painting the flat and all that sort of stuff. So it's a real kind of partnership model that we've got. And I suppose our biggest partner is essentially like the citizens of Birmingham and the young people of Birmingham and the people that know them and work with them. Just to say that, we are here, we are open, we have availability on courses, we are ready to receive your young people, and we hopefully see as many of them as possible.
A little bit about Sally McLaughlin now, if that's okay. So you've been in the role for about a year. What kind of attracted you to my bank? And because I think it takes a certain type of individual to work for a charity and to work with young people and try to kind of educate them. So what was it about that, and how have you found it so far?
So my background is charity for the last 10 years. I've worked with vulnerable people at the kind of other end of the scale. So I worked with vulnerable older people experiencing loneliness and isolation and living on a low income, and those with dementia. And when this role came up, I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, to be able to have the opportunity to lead on the expansion into the Midlands, a place that I'm very proud to be from.
Because you're a Brummie?
Because I'm a Brummie, yeah. And I think Brummies are the best, and I think Birmingham is brilliant. And to be a part of that was just something that I just couldn't like let pass me by. And whilst it was working with a group of people that is new to me in terms of young people, my experience was working with older people, I just relished that challenge. And I was able to build the team as well. So we've got an incredible team. There's 4 of us all together. There's obviously myself. There's Lee, who's our lead trainer for the Money House. There's Danielle, who's the training assistant and project coordinator for the Money House. And then Chris leads on all our mobile programs. We found the property, we renovated it, we painted it, blood, sweat and tears have gone into it. And whilst I'm taking a model that clearly works elsewhere in the country, it's our job to Brummify it and bring it to Birmingham and make it relevant for the city, because otherwise it won't work. We can't replicate what works in London. We need to serve the young people of Birmingham as best we can, and I think we're all very proud Brummies, and that hopefully comes across.
One person who seems to be proud of your work, is certainly a backer of your work, is the Mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Streeter, and he said this service is a wonderful addition to our region, and I look forward to seeing the positive impact it has here in the months and years ahead. How important is it to get support from the Lord Mayor?
Very important, I think. I met with Andy before Christmas to talk to him about our work in general, but also about the specific work we're doing here. And he was really interested, and he's a very proud Brummie himself, and he knew, the building that we were in, he knows the area well. So we had our official opening in January. So we've been running courses from September, but on the 10th of January we had our kind of official ribbon cutting opening, and Andy came and said a few words and cut the ribbon with a young person. And I think to have his support and the kind of wider support from the kind of political support is really important, because it helps get our name out there, essentially, number one, but also it shows us that we're kind of integrated into the city, and it was great to have Andy Street there and the kind of connections with other people that he helped us make. So it was a good day on the 10th of Jan.
Good. So I want to now talk a little bit about case studies. Are we able to? I mean, obviously, I don't need names and ages and that sort of thing, but are you able to give us a couple of examples of how, my bank and the services and the offerings that you guys provide have been able to help sort of people in really quite dire situations?
We have run a number of courses since September, and surprisingly, we've worked with some to the younger end of 16 to 25. So we had a couple of courses with the 16-year-olds, and we are talking about young people who weren't living at home. So but they weren't in the care system either, but they were being supported by someone at the council, living with friends, and with no money, with nothing. So having some benefits, but the benefits, they weren't seeing any of them. Somebody else was looking after those benefits on their behalf. So these young people...
Looking after in inverted commas, or are we talking...
Possibly, yeah, looking after in inverted commas, possibly.
Okay.
So, we're completely non-judgmental, and we are not there to judge, make young people feel bad about anything. We're there to help them see their options. So, for example, it might be a case of, well, what other benefits are you eligible for? That's always a start. And we're not, as I said, giving advice, but we can talk about the different types of benefits and eligibility. And then it might be referring to Turn to Us or Citizens Advice Bureau to really find out, what they're eligible for. And then having a conversation about, well, if you are on benefits and you aren't seeing any of them, you should. So you need to be having a conversation, through your work coach or whoever your support worker is. And I think ultimately with young people like that, who you can kind of see on the precipice of, it can either go one of two ways for them perhaps, is just, first of all, from our point of view, delivering an excellent course so they learn everything that they've got this kind of knowledge and all this arsenal of information, but also working with whoever referred them. So they were both referred by somebody. And feedback after the course is finished on that young person, raising any concerns we might have. We're obviously all safeguarding trained, and we all know how to recognise, something that might be going on. And just working with that support worker to flag up any issues, but also hope that, that they can then confidently make decisions when they leave us. Perhaps not now, perhaps not 6 months, perhaps in a year, or when they turn 18 and it's like, you're getting your own place now. But they're always welcome to come back. So if you're 16, you come on a money house. It's very different if you come on a money house when you're 18. People are very welcome to come back on and go, right, I'm in a different place now. I really need this again, and they can come back on the course.
What's been some of the comments or feedback that you've received from young people? Do they come back to you and say, that was just amazing? Or, what do they say?
They say that they love how it's a completely non-judgmental environment. That's some feedback we got from our very first course. How welcoming the space is. How nice and friendly the training team are, how they're treated like adults. We are all on one level. It's very much not a classroom environment, so they don't sit at desks and look at the front. The training table is a dining table, so they're sitting round in a very kind of family, kind of cohesive sort of way. And how, they thought that they knew that young people thought that they knew everything that they needed to know about money, and if they just take one thing away, then that's brilliant, but hopefully they'll take lots of things away. So we really get them to kind of think about just their different options. That's really important to us, that you've got choice out there, and it's not just like you have to do this because your parents did this, or you have to do this because your friends are doing this. You do have choice about that.
What are the plans for the charity going forward? So you've been around for about a year in Birmingham, longer elsewhere in the country, but what are the plans now? So you're pretty well established, you've got political backing and clout the name's beginning to kind of get out there, and you've clearly got people using the service and the various offerings that you have. What are the plans kind of going forward? 6 months, a year, 2 years? Where do you plan to be?
So in the Midlands, I plan to be fully integrated into part of the offering for young people across the city. So every time anybody thinks about financial education, they think about my bank. That is one hope that I have, and I certainly think that we are definitely going in the right direction. And our partnership work with other organisations, big and small. I mentioned St Basil's and the Prince's Trust, but we can work with small community organisations, and we do, and volunteer-led organisations, and everybody in between. So that's my hope from that point of view. We also have the training model that we have is that we're very expandable. So if we get too big, we reach capacity, then we have a freelance model. So we can just get more. We just get more training team in to kind of take up that the extra young people. So there's no danger of us kind of being too busy or being full. And then from a wider point of view, we are opening another money house in Manchester this year, and we're currently at the recruitment phase of that, and that is really, really exciting. So we'll have 7 money houses across the country and running our school age programmes as well across the majority of the country, and of course all of our work in Scotland. So my bank's at a very exciting time of a period of growth, which is exciting from my point of view, and also exciting from the young people across Birmingham and beyond to be able to have access to these programmes.
And I'm assuming that the different money houses up and down the country, they kind of talk to each other about, I guess, trends and maybe stuff that's going on to kind of keep a watch out for this, or have you heard about it? Is there communication, I'm assuming, with all the different money houses up and down the country?
We work incredibly closely. We're a very, very tight-knit team, despite the fact that we're all geographically far away from each other. And I think that's another reason why we're so successful, because we always are learning from each other and sharing our information and best practice and, potential partnerships or ways that we can make what we do better. So, yeah, absolutely. The MyBank team is very close-knit and communication's really good between everyone. They're all great.
Last question, Sally, before I let you go, because I know you're an incredibly busy person. But best thing about the job?
Best thing about the job is that I can be part of Birmingham and the city every day that I come into work, and know that the team and I make a difference in a really fun and relevant way, and we all have a really good time at work. We all love coming to work because of the young people that we get to meet. They spend a week with us. That's a long time, and we all become friends at the end of it, and it's brilliant. So yeah, I think that's what it would be, just being part of Birmingham, being part of the city.
And finally, if young people want to access the service, they need to go to.
So we are in Digbeth, on Ulster Street. But if you are interested, you can drop us an email at TMH Midlands. So that's TMH for the Money House Midlands at mybank.org. You can contact us directly, or you can get somebody to do that on your behalf. And then Danielle will be in touch. She will speak to you about when we've got a course running next. And to be honest, at the moment, you won't have to wait long. It's really exciting. And one thing I would like to mention as well is that one of our other funders has given us some money to give out as a bursary for young people. So this is a national thing, but we're really pushing it in Birmingham. So for 18 to 25-year-olds who've been through a money house, you can apply for a bursary of £120 to help towards the cost of living, which is an amount of money that is not to be sniffed at. There's a lot of money. There are certain criteria on how you can spend it, but it's very broad. So it could be spent on, health and well-being. So it might be at a Superdrug or Boots or something like that, or food, supermarket. You could help it to buy, if you're moving into your own place, Argos, so a toaster or a kettle or things like that. And you just have to answer 4 very simple questions, nothing hard, nothing to catch you out. And if you're eligible, then you get £120. So hopefully that's a nice incentive to, obviously come on the course. It's brilliant, but then as an added incentive, you have the opportunity to apply for this bursary.
It's not bad. Not bad at all. Sally McLaughlin, Regional Partnership Manager for Midlands My Bank. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.